Today, I thought it'd be fun to create a watercolor sketchbook. I have this ginormous watercolor pad. One second. I have to go to storage. Did I mention I'm in a 9-foot square studio space here? So I have this giant watercolor pad that's pretty much nearly as big as my space. I have been carting this thing around. It's kind of beat up. You can see all the spine is beat up here. It's a Canson watercolor pad, 30 sheets, 18 by 24. So I have been carrying this pad around since I started living tiny in 2020, actually 2019. So it's been a staple that I have not even really used much. I had the idea to take out the pieces of paper and cut this whole pad down, mostly because of storage. I just went underneath my studio space here. Ice is falling off the bus because it snowed a lot yesterday. Anyways, I had this idea to cut this paper up and make smaller, this is really big. So instead of continuing to store it, I'm going to make watercolor sketchbooks out of it. And I thought we would do that for the first time. Now, I've only ever made 2 books in my life that are handmade. This was the first book. I took a class with my friend in Scotland, and I really wanted to learn bookmaking, and this is the most basic, simplest bookmaking. And then I came home and I made one for a friend. She actually ordered one because she really wanted a little pocket sketchbook because she also lives tiny. So these are the only 2 books I've made so far. And so I'm taking on the challenge to create a watercolor sketchbook out of this ginormous pieces of paper before they get ruined because of the lack of storage I have here. Well, there's a little smushed bug there under that paper. So I'm going to figure out how many pieces of paper I want to use. And also the glue is totally gone, so it's not even like connected in here. So it's a good thing that we're doing this. Thinking, let's see how many pages we can make with 3 pieces. So I'm going to put this over here on my couch, close up this ginormous pad. What to do with that little bug? Get him off with a pencil. This is a smushed little bug that was on my watercolor pad. I'll be right back. I gotta throw this away. Okay, yeah, I think the sooner we get this pad cut up, the better. Okay, so what the plan is to take these pieces of paper that are 18 by 24 and fold them down and make a smaller watercolor sketchbook out of them. Hey, it's Editing Nat just popping in because I'm editing and I noticed that I left out something. This process, when I first did it, took 2 hours, and that was also etching the cover. This book took probably 4 hours, but that's because I cut everything by hand. And so you do want to allow time if you are cutting everything by hand and you're not, getting everything pre-cut. So there's a little bit of a time factor, but if you find it meditative like I do, then you won't even feel the time go by. So I'm going to move you guys down to look at the studio space so you can see what I'm doing. Welcome to Nat Creates, where we dive into all things creative, just getting crazy with, creating with your hands. I spent a lifetime on the computer and I quit that a year ago, pretty much coming up on a year ago this week. And the mission there was to stop living behind my computer screen and start creating with my hands like I did when I was younger, when I played and have fun and made things out of nothing. And so that's what we're about here. I'd love for you to be part of the community. Hope you'll subscribe and follow along as we, find a more creative life after 50 while living tiny. Okay, as you can see, the paper is a lot bigger than my paper cutter. So what I'm gonna have to do is cut the paper by hand and then cut it down. I think I'm gonna make my watercolor sketchbook about this size. So we'll see what size that is here. Basically 5 by 4. So I need to have 4 by 8 pages. So a page like that. Now this one isn't watercolor, this is just drawing paper. The first things first is I have to cut this big paper down so I can actually use the paper cutter. I think I'm going to use this instead of scissors because I think I can get it straighter with this. I might be able to use this. I'll try it with this first because that would save me going out in the snow. So I'll put this over here. If you can't go to the end because I'm gonna have to do a couple of different passes. This is probably the most tedious part of the process, is cutting all the paper. So we're not gonna show every single page. I think I can get 2 pages because this is 18 inches. I can get 2 pages at 8 inches long. I'm not gonna mess with that. That's not for you, honey. Kitty break. Okay, bye kitty. Okay, so what I've been using is this rotary cutter and my metal ruler and my smaller ruler to cut these pieces of paper. It is tedious, but this is the, I wanted smaller paper so that I could cut it down with my paper cutter. So now that all of the 3 sheets are cut, I'm going to go through and cut these up with the paper cutter. It should go a lot faster. I'm going to cut them at 8 inches. I think we'll make a little tiny book out of these sheets. What do you guys think? Going off of the straight edge here on the cutter, it looks like I did a halfway decent job of cutting with the rotary cutter. I hadn't had a lot of experience with that. I got that at Michael's, but I'll put a link below where you can get it either at Michael's or Amazon. And I got the rotary cutter to cut the leather covers for these books. I also love to find a source for either vegan leather or faux leather. This one's a little short. But that's the coolness of having a handmade book. It's not perfect. It's not cut by a automatic machine. This one's really way off. Actually, it's cut by hand. That was the big motivation for me starting this channel. Was to be able to do things by hand. I had been on the computer for 30 years. And using digital methods to create art, like the Wacom tablet and then later the iPad. I miss touching real paper. I miss feeling real pencils and smelling all the different mediums that you use. And hearing those cool sounds like the paper cutting. You can't hear that when you're working on the computer. The last of the cutting. Put this little guy away. So now I have all of these pages to fold, and then I have all of these smaller papers, hi kitty, to make a mini book. I think we'll do that in another video. Be a fun little mini sketchbook. These are going to be really, this is going to be a really fat book, so I think I need to count out how many pages I actually want, because each of these is going to be 2 pages. So I'm going to figure that out. I think that's 15, so that would be a 30-page book. And then I have a lot to make another book. So I'm going to get started on folding these. And I think I have my folder in one of these guys. Yeah, there's a folder right there. So we'll start by folding like this. I'll just use that to score it. There's one. Okay, we got all of those folded. Let's see how big the book is going to be. So I think I'm going to do 5 6-page sections. So that looks like 2, 3, so that's 6 pages. So I'm going to make 5 of those. Okay, so I have 5 sections of 3 8-inch pages, and that is making 5 6-page sections. And as you can see, it is handmade, so they are not like perfectly even. I think that's okay, but I also think I might straighten that up a little bit with the paper cutter. What do you think, Winter? basically our book would be like that in the spine area. Now we're going to get our piece of leather out and cut that the right size. Okay, so now what we need to do is make holes in the paper. So we use this as our example. Each of these sections have 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. So I need to make 4 holes in each of these sections. And how we do that is with this awl and this guide. I used a guide just like this to make the book that I made in Scotland. And then I bought this guide and I hate it. It's cheap, it's horrible, but that's what I have right now, so we're gonna use it. So I'm gonna look to get one of these that's stronger. But right now, I'm going to make 4 holes. So you place this in here. So we're gonna 1 towards the top. One at the bottom. And then the middle. Okay, now that I have the marks where the holes are going to get punched on the leather, then I can get my leather punch out and make these holes. So I have my leather hold punch. This is not perfect by any means. As I do more of these, I'll have better processes and templates and all those things made already. We're going to cut the cords that hold in the pages. So if we want to look at the example again, this is the cord that holds these pages in. And so I need to cut the length, which I believe is, I think it's 6 inches that I cut these. So I'm going to cut 5 6-inch pieces of these. I'm going to do 8 inches because I think that's what I did last time to allow some room to tie the knot. So I'm going to cut it at an angle so I have a point. Oh, that's right. Hold on. I remember what I did now. I used this guy and I cut them at an angle with this guy. So there's one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread each section in. So we have our sections and they're going to go on the inside of here. So we're going to thread them through the hole. We go through and tighten this up. See, it's really loose right here and not as loose right there. So we want to tighten that up. Well, now it should be, yeah, they're both not loose now. So then we're going to tie this in a knot. And this will be the first section of pages, 6 pages, that is tied into the book. We'll go through and trim these off later. But for now, I'm gonna speed tie the editing that, popping back in real quick because sadly the footage of me getting the little charm and the little tie cord hooked onto the book was all blurry. I think I had it in cinematic mode on accident. So I'm going to show you how that looks right now. And it's pretty easy. I just punched a hole on each side of the leather, and then I tied a cord and then tied the little key charm onto it. And it kind of makes it look whimsical. And what do you think? How does it look? Let me know. I don't want the video to go on too much longer, so I'm going to let you get back at it. Okay, well, there we go. This first little watercolor sketchbook I have made. So a little bit of trial and error, but we figured it out. I was thinking this would be a fun giveaway when I get monetized, so let me know in the comments if that would interest you at all, and we'll shoot to do that. It's about 30 pages of watercolor paper, and it's a little micro size, so you can take it out and about with you to paint when you're out in the world and doing things. This was like the third book I've ever made, so I appreciate you guys following along, and let me know in the comments if you want to see more stuff like that. I really appreciate you guys subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications. I'm having a lot of fun, and I hope that it's fun for you too. We'll see you on the next video. Keep going.